Good morning, Rob. Sir, how are you today?
Great. How's things going?
Excellent. Happy Sunday. And we have hopefully a big crew online. People will flow in as they see we are live. So, how has your week been? Have you enjoyed the crypto markets this week?
Yeah, it hasn't dumped yet. I'm pretty sure that I'm pretty sure we're going to see either happen tonight or tomorrow. That's usually been the MO, maybe even a Tuesday. So, yeah, we'll see how it all works out. But like I was talking to a friend of mine, he goes, it's been the easiest thing. I buy on Tuesday and then I sell on a Saturday. I've been there for like the last 8 weeks, and I've been hitting home runs left and right. Don't even have to think about it. I'm like, yeah, makes a lot of sense because that's exactly what's been going on. So we'll see if it all plays out tomorrow, maybe even Tuesday.
It's easy to outsmart those patterns by just moving your puck a little bit earlier, sooner or later to play those games. But I just see Bitcoin. I keep talking about this chart. It's just under tremendous accumulation all the time, no matter where we go. So let's jump and let's talk about some of the news that I think is kind of pertinent to the audience out there. And as you guys know, I like to look at some of the macro backdrop, which influences where the crypto market goes, where the stock market goes, etc. So there seems to be this huge escalation towards the path of central bank digital currencies, which for me is enough to scare the living daylights out of me, because that is the ultimate George Orwell 1984 scenario. But and the US realizes in order to retain their presence as the reserve currency of the world, they need a digital dollar fast. Where do you see the CBDC stuff going, and do you think it's a threat? Like if somebody said to you, okay, Rob, convert everything to digital dollar. We want to watch you. We want to track everything. How would you feel? And do you think it's coming fast?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, you got to understand, people for everybody, first of all, welcome everybody to the show. I appreciate everybody showing up. When we talk about things that are tracked, of course, anybody can track me and what I'm doing as far as all my different wallets. You don't know exactly the wallet that I have, but it's pretty easy to figure things out. So there is that part. But as far as like the CBDCs and how fast it's coming in, and if the government says you got to transfer everything over, first of all, they have to make us do anything, to do these types of things. It doesn't work per se like that. I know some people are like, you don't understand because America is the next China. Stop. It's nonsense right now, okay? So if they're going to say you need to convert all your crypto into a CBDC, it's not going to happen. However, with the CBDC coming in, I know people say, well, what's the big deal? Because it's just a CBDC, it's just by the central government. It's the same thing, and it's centralized. That's the first letter as far as the CBDC. So for them to do those types of things, first of all, it would kind of undercut some of the different cryptos out there that are made specifically for payments, and that wouldn't be so great. But do I see it actually happening? Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons why you see a Gary Gensler come out and say, I think CBDCs are a security. And also Jerome Powell say the same exact thing from a central bank. Go, look, these are securities and we need to regulate them. It's just kind of funny how those two gentlemen in a span of 7 or 10 days said the exact same thing in front of a hearing, because there's also this rumbling of a digital dollar coming in. So I see that coming in because that's what they want it to be. I know some people will say, well, but you don't understand because they want to make sure that we're protected, and because of the audits that go through as far as our stable coins. That's not what it is. They want to do something else. They don't want it to compete. That's my 2 cents.
Exactly. So I personally am very spooked by it, and I think it'll be very bullish for the crypto world. And I also believe in the future will be decentralized. And as a result of that, governments will lose control over time. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. And we saw what happened in China. It was a very interesting case in point with DYDX. They banned crypto trading. Billions of dollars in the space of 24 hours moved to decentralized exchanges, So people will figure a way out around these types of situations. Then there was other interesting news. And by the way, Rob's channel is down in the link below, in the description below. So make sure you please, if you're not already subscribed, I know you probably are, but if you're not, please subscribe to this channel. And happy morning, everybody. So there's another piece of news which is kind of important to the crypto market, which has rattled a lot of people because they don't understand what it means. But there's word now of a crypto czar, and this goes back to the old Obama administration where he kind of stuck czars everywhere. But I think it's really just an administrator to keep tabs on exactly what's going on. So they have a party line. Are you worried about this whole crypto czar threat now from Biden with his executive order? Not following the will of the people?
It's a funny thing, and this goes back to what we think we know that we don't know. And I'll just take you all the way back to when Gary Gensler was announced as the head of the SEC, and everybody was so ecstatic and excited because, like, oh, this guy's great because he taught at MIT, he knows blockchain, he knows what's going on. And so far, hasn't been that great unless he's playing something close to his chest that he doesn't want to give everybody the information out. So when we see these czars come about, I don't even know if it could really be somebody who's going to be, really knowledgeable as far as crypto or unknowledgeable. I just don't know where things are going. And I don't really know if they can really regulate the things that they want to regulate because things are moving so fast and at breakneck speeds. And we see that, James. We see that when we're trying to evaluate projects. There's so many things going on for them to actually catch up with all the bureaucracy. I just don't see it really happening. They can probably do some things, but I just don't really see it. And then before we go on, let's address, shout out to George, Cryptos R Us. He couldn't make it. He's traveling, as everybody might know, because they watch his channel. But George, have a good time in the great state of Texas. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, and George, also his puppy Puff passed, so may his dog rest in peace as well. I'm very sorry for George. So there's some comments saying, George. Where's George? Weird old George. So just, everybody needs a day off sometimes as well. So
yeah, shoot, after that it's crushing.
So the other thing that's kind of super interesting about this whole space is, and it's so clear that inflation is not going away. It's not transitory. And, remember the talk earlier in the year about lumber exploding and everything else? Well, lumber has exploded again. Oil price hit a 10-year high. You've got gas going up 40% in Europe. You have real estate now, per the Case-Schiller index, and I know you know real estate very well, 19.7% annual rate during the 12 months ending 31st of July. That's 20% increase in real estate prices. This is off the charts. And I've been looking at the Case-Schiller index for 30 years, and it goes back 70 years or something. Like the inflation stuff isn't going away. And now the big money managers, the George Soroses of the world, it's like, we really need an inflation hedge. And we're looking at the stock market, all-time highs. Looking at the bond market, nobody's touching that. Gold has been flat for 11 years, or actually down if you take into account real purchasing power. But where do you see all this going right now? And did I say Germany had the worst inflation in 29 years as well? So it is just crazy. Somebody was reporting recently that the cost of a Big Mac meal, I don't believe anybody should ever touch McDonald's. Not a slur on McDonald's, but it's not healthy food. But they were stunned about how much a Big Mac meal cost somewhere in Europe. I can't remember which country. Like literally stunned. So where do you see this? Does that impact you at all? If you go to a store, have you noticed an impact in prices? And do people in your cohort group, are they desperately looking for inflation hedges right now?
So it's a lot to unpack. But first of all, let me just say, McDonald's is delicious. It is not good for you, but damn it, it's good. If you just press for time, it's great. Then to get into the deeper stuff, in all honesty, I take a look at the price of materials, especially like construction projects for the different real estate that we have. It's the question I have in my mind is it, because we know that inflation is here. We know Jerome Powell said it will be transitory. Or transitory. Yes. And he said, and then a couple of weeks ago or a week ago he said, well, it's a little bit more than what we thought it was. So there was that part. We know that it's really high. I think, didn't you do a show on it, James, where you said inflation is actually, they said it was around 3%, and you said no, I think you said like 7.8 or 8 point something, and then all of a sudden it comes out. And now
it's I believe it's at least been a minimum 12%. When you incorporate all of the factors of life, your housing, your transportation, the cost of vehicles, the cost of apples, food, healthcare, university. Even if you look at your bills going back 20 years, so you're in property management, I'm in property management. I know how much the garbage cost to pick up 20 years ago in San Francisco. I know how much it is today. It is something like 2.3 times as expensive. And that's in 20 years. So everything is just there's nothing going down in price whatsoever. Even Tesla increased the price of their cars by 3,000 because they can. And
right. Well, yeah, I mean, everything's going up, right? But I mean, the question is, because we see it in inflation, but then we also see it in with the cost and the materials to actually transport all these things around, to actually get them to them, the supply chain. Because right now on the East and the West Coast, don't we have a bunch of those cargo ships that are just kind of waiting in the lurches because they can't unload because there's not enough people to work? And why don't people want to work? Because why would they work when they can just get money from the government and MMT? So there's that aspect of it. So there's something wrong with the supply chain. We can't get things here. We don't have the people to come through. And then of course on top of that, we also have inflation. It's just a pretty big, not bubble, but it's a pretty big negative that's going to affect everything around us. And then as far as like prices, like I'll just tell you right now, in San Juan, Puerto Rico, everything is pricey because everything has to be imported. And it's just even more so. And then to find people who can actually work, because we're gonna close on hopefully an 8-unit multi-use center, and just to find someone who can actually like do the upgrades we need is damn near impossible, because everybody is either they don't want to work or they have jobs with the wazoo, and it's very tough right now. So yeah,
we're going to be seeing you in overalls next week then.
Hey, trust me. I'm not below going out and working the wheelbarrow and laying cement and doing the concrete work. That's just what it is. But I mean, seriously, that is where we're at right now.
Yeah. There's other interesting developments. A lot of people are very excited about the Google news with Bakkt, but people don't really know what it kind of means. It's a nothing burger, as I'd say. Yeah. It's basically those people, like everybody's like, oh, Google's in, Google's putting Bitcoin in treasury, Google's embracing Bitcoin. No, Google partner with 250,000 companies and organizations. Having a partnership with Google, it's great for your little business, but it doesn't mean Google's jumping in. And I think the Bakkt thing is just anybody with a Bakkt credit card, they can now use it with Google Pay, period. It's not very exciting. How many people have a Bakkt credit card? Probably not that many. So not a big deal, everybody. Don't get too excited about Google, but there will be more stuff coming. Which big treasury deal do you think will be next? Because the big tech companies have been
buying... You broke up there.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Which treasury companies do you think will fall next? I know there's lots of medium, small, private companies. They're buying Bitcoin. And I know that all the publicly traded companies, they're sitting on something like $3 trillion in cash right now. But Google, Facebook, Apple, they've all been buying real estate because that's an easy hedge. And they were clever to do so because, as we know, we just heard it went up 20% in the last 12 months. But what do you think is going to happen next? Which company is going to buy Bitcoin and stick on the balance sheet?
I was surprised when some of the bigger companies didn't buy more. I mean, any Bitcoin. Like I was thinking to myself, I'm like, if Google is a tech company, why wouldn't they have gotten into Bitcoin right now? Just at least as a hedge. There's some pretty smart people in there, right? And then with Zuckerberg, I know he wanted to do his own thing with Diem, but why wouldn't you get it right now when the getting is good and actually be a hedge? So. I mean, to see like which one could potentially do it, which ones are the ones that are really at risk these days? Maybe the car companies, maybe somebody like a Ford, like a Chrysler, who's like, we just want to put some on the balance sheet just to show it. Then maybe it would be like a MicroStrategy. We're going to put a little bit on the balance books, and then maybe our stock goes up. That's kind of worked out in the early to late 90s when anything that had to do with a .com, their stock would rise just for no particular reason. So. Maybe it's one of those.
It's funny you mentioned the car industry. The global chip shortage, I think it's going to cost the U.S. car industry $210 billion. For GM, Chrysler, those guys, they are being hammered, and they've turned their factories down to 50% capacity because they don't have any chips. And all the chips are on the boats. 78 boats parked outside L.A. right now, Long Beach. They can't even get in. And apparently, even if they could get in, the trucks aren't there to pick up the stuff and deliver it because the parts that the trucks need for the trucks that are broken down or the workers aren't there. It's just, I think things are going to go real sideways real fast. But there was another funny, interesting development that shows the desperation of hyperinflationary countries. And I know we have some people probably in the audience here from Turkey, but it's now illegal in Turkey to talk about inflation rates. It's a crime. Yeah, you're not allowed to have an opinion on the government or central bank or inflation rates in Turkey. It's a crime to tell the truth. What do you think about that?
What the?
It's a true story. Yeah.
Okay, a couple of things. First of all, how do they track that? I'm going to guess there's some type of social media monitoring.
Probably.
And then the second thing is, like, if you do talk negatively, what is the repercussions? Do they come back and they say, we're going to ban this account, or do you get like a fine, or how does that work? Or is it just like, don't do it? Yeah. And then, of course, I don't know. But that's insane.
He's a piece of work, their president. But they're trying to keep the lid on the control of the people. And again, I always say all paths lead to Bitcoin. And I know the smart money. I've got a lot of friends in Turkey, and they are buying Bitcoin. And they have been buying Bitcoin for the last 3 years because they know inflation there is at least 40 to 60% per year. And they know their fiat is crumbling away fast. And so the amount of time before it accelerates.
Yeah. And then, a friend of mine, Diddy from the Bitcoin family, I had him on the show a couple of times, and I was talking, he was the one, I don't know if you know him, James, he's the one that sold everything. Yeah. And I asked him, I go, why'd you do that? And he said, well, I did in 2013. I kind of started the mining, everything else. But in 2017, I just realized that because he had lived in a lot of different places. And he brings up Turkey, he brought up Germany, he brought up the different countries that were hyperinflation. And he goes, my relatives would talk to me about these things. And I've been around, I've seen these things happening. So he goes, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. And for me, again, my fatal flaw is I just assume people are just like me and they live in the same place. But because I'm in America, I don't see hyperinflation, at least not yet. And then, so when other people see it, like, you don't understand how bad and awful it could potentially be. And that's why we need a hedge. And gold is not doing it for us. So we're going to go into gold 2.0 or digital gold. And it makes a lot of sense of why they're doing it.
Yeah. And I think, and I've been saying this for a long time as well, I do believe Bitcoin is that flight to safety. Everybody's beginning to pile in. Things are beginning to go crazy. Even if you look at the last 24 hours, the whole crypto market's pretty much red, with the exception of Bitcoin, up 1.09%. And over the last 7 days, Bitcoin up 16%, which is a staggering move for an asset that large. And I was happy to see things like Polkadot moving as well. Ethereum's been on a tear the last 3 weeks, which is great. Elrond, but some of the other smart contract platforms are a little bit flat. Where do you see anything surprise you from the last week or so? I know your little XRP is up 30% in the last week or two.
Yes, my XRP, exactly. Yeah. Well, first of all, let's take a look at. Let me pull some things up. So let me refresh this. So I know Cardano didn't do. Bitcoin did great, 16% for the week. Ethereum 4.6. Cardano was basically flat. I got 0.1% up. Solana, XRP 13%. Solana down 9%. Polkadot 11%. I mean, these are all the things just fluctuate, and I don't really care. You know what really surprises me, James? What really surprised me, and it really opened my eyes, was NFTs and what they are doing as far as utility and as far as getting in on the ground floor. I think it was hard for me to wrap my head around because, if you take a look at, I know this isn't an NFT show, but for everybody out there, I think there's 3 portfolios. One is your for me, and again, this is investment opinion, not investment advice. I've got a HODL portfolio, which is the vast majority. We'll say that's about 90 to 95%, right? And then 4% could be trading, and then 1%, if you really want to, break it down, it could be NFTs. And these NFTs have just been going through the roof. There's this one, and you go to OpenSea.io, Humanoids up almost 800% in 7 days. Crypto Toads 113%. And I was like, I don't understand, why? They're just little goofy things, but that's the beauty of it. There's actually there's actually some utility behind it, like CyberKongz, this one where if you buy into a CyberKong, everything that gets minted on the CyberKongz platform after that, as far as like other NFTs trying to be developed, they actually pay everybody who has or holds CyberKongz. They actually give them part of that as far as like yield. And I was like, oh, I can see some of that. I can get that. And then also some of these are actually given tokens of which do absolutely nothing, but it's still a collection. And that's for this week, James. I know I'm not articulating this correctly, but for this week, it really opened my eyes to what NFTs could potentially do.
Yeah, I started dabbling in those things as well, and we had some NFTs that we made available to the public, and then half the money goes towards a children's hospital. What got me though was the cost of minting and the cost of selling. Like, I think in one day it was like $1,000 in Ethereum just to basically sell stuff. It's ridiculous. But anyway, we got a lot of cool questions. But you're right, the NFT world is fascinating, but people buy them to speculate, to trade. It's like baseball cards or something, and that's what people are doing. They're not buying them to hold them; they're buying them to trade them. And people behind the scenes are making a ton of money too. So it's fascinating to watch. But I'm no NFT expert from a trading perspective. I prefer things that I can kind of measure and appraise. So we have a ton of cool questions. I got a good one actually. So let's jump into some Q&A now, because people actually love this part. And again, all super chats we donate to animals. And President Bukele in El Salvador is going to donate all his Bitcoin profits to setting up an animal sanctuary in El Salvador too. And speaking of El Salvador, we have a question from Dr. Zoolander 007. When countries allow Bitcoin like El Salvador, isn't every transaction such as buying a McDonald's or using Strike on Twitter a taxable event, and how to combat that issue? Great question. Would you like to take that, or shall I?
So like as far as I understand it, everything that you use as far as transactions, it is a taxable event. Am I incorrect in this one? Because it is a property, but and then when they like, so if you buy, go ahead, James. What do you got?
I think sorry, we have a little time lag in the audio, but I think in El Salvador, Bitcoin is tax free, so you don't get taxes on it. So that's not an issue from that perspective. And if Bitcoin here it is. But if Bitcoin does become legal tender in different parts of the world, and that's why it's so huge when you got places like Kazakhstan, the Ukraine, and now Brazil as well, looking at making it legal tender. Because for me, the most exciting thing is it means it's not taxable. So that's the most important thing. Second thing, when you do things like use Strike, what it does, it converts your fiat to Bitcoin and then immediately to another fiat, another currency. So there's no taxable event there because it's seamless. So from that perspective, it's not a big issue. And but the world is developing, and the world is behind, like regulation. I mean, if you look at our financial markets in the US, the laws for the SEC were written in the 1930s and 1940s. It's a different world today.
Yeah, I just don't understand how PayPal is going to do this, because PayPal on their app, you're able to buy crypto, Bitcoin, and they're going to actually open this up to the merchants. So if that kind of works out, if you buy Bitcoin at 50,000 and then it goes up to 60,000, then you do that. Each transaction, as far as in the U.S., should be taxable. So I can understand what happens in El Salvador and with Strike, I suppose. But for me, I don't understand how PayPal is going to actually do that. And I don't understand how Bakkt is going to do it as well. They got the same thing, the one we just talked about as far as the Google Pay. I don't know how that's going to work out, unless it's going to be just a huge, enormous trail and a nightmare.
Yeah, well, the systems exist to be able to do that accounting, so I'm not that concerned about the Bakkts of the world. But I think there has to come a time when the tipping point where like a third of the economies in the world say embrace Bitcoin, then it becomes a global currency, then it can't be taxable anymore. Fingers crossed. That would be a nice world, wouldn't it?
We'll see.
It'd be a nirvana.
I don't think that's going to happen, James. I don't think it's going to happen. We can't even. Two countries. The only thing two countries can agree on is that the third country is totally incorrect. That's about it.
Exactly. Question from Dan Cook. Your thoughts if you were bleeding in stocks and then sell at a loss and stick it into Bitcoin to recover your losses, and then sell at the top to recover losses? Is that a good idea? So.
I like the part of selling. I mean, if you want to sell for like tax loss harvesting, I mean, you can do that. You can't, but you can't buy back immediately. That's the difference between crypto. You can do that. I did that with my XRP. I sold at a major loss, and tax loss harvesting was just fine. And I could buy immediately because it's property.
Yeah.
I don't know about the other part though, about selling at the top and things like that. My opinion is, I'm just a buy and hold guy. I just dollar cost average, and I try to spread my wealth around for different projects. Me and James disagree on that part, but that's how I see things moving.
I don't think we disagree at all on that. So I think a lot of people have this preconceived notion right now that, well, Bitcoin's gonna have a blow off top, and then I'm gonna sell. I'm gonna nail the top, and then I'm gonna buy it back at 85% off with all my profits. So I'll be able to 6x the amount of Bitcoin I have. I think people don't realize who is actually in control here. The retail investor doesn't matter anymore. Like 10% of the volume, Bitcoin volume, is probably retail. The other 90% is the high net worth individuals and big institutions. They are the people buying. And so I think people may be caught out if they sell, they may not be able to get back on the train. That's my concern. And I think it's always important, back to the question from Dan Cook, get rid of losers. They'll never recover 90% of the time. So if you feel you're holding a bag of stuff that's garbage and it's just not moving, bite the bullet, put on something that is moving. So a question for you, Rob, as well, from Maddie Bluebird. I'd love to hear Rob's thoughts on Sovereign.
Sovereign.
That's like an AMM on Bitcoin. It's one of these new DeFi plays on Bitcoin. I don't know if you've heard of it. Maddie seems to think you do.
No, let me see. Like here, the total supply 1 billion Sovereign, SOV.
SOV, yeah.
I haven't even heard of this project, and I don't even know if it's even ranked. Is it ranked?
It is, yeah.
Or did it just come out?
I'm actually kind of bullish on it. It's one of my top 3 DeFi plays on Bitcoin, and I haven't done a deep dive into it as to value it, and it all depends on how much it's going to be adopted. But I think it is, Maddie, interesting one to look at and expect.
Oh, this isn't it. Yeah, this isn't it, because I'm looking at one. It's SOV. It's the first self-deflationary token on EOS. That cannot be the one.
No, it's Sovereign. Let me get their ticker. SOVRY.
Oh, there's another.
Let me see.
Sovereign coin?
Yeah.
Reddish? SOV?
No, let me see.
See, this is one of the problems with new projects.
There's so many. That's SOV. SOV is the ticker.
That's funny.
$30
because I'm looking at SOV. Maybe it's SOVRYN instead of SOV.
It is SOVRYN.
Okay, and then we got a max. I can't even give you an estimate, because I'm looking at is total supply 74,000, max supply. There's a big fat question mark. 24-hour trading volume is 1.4. Total volume locked. This must be maybe the DeFi play, 140 million. And website sovereign.app. Yeah. The decentralized Bitcoin trading and lending platform.
Yeah, it's an AMM for Bitcoin. It's interesting because I think some of these DeFi plays on Bitcoin will be very exciting in the future, but I think it's too early, especially one that small. But I am tracking it and testing it out as well. So another quick question, Craig M. Reddit has convinced a good friend of mine that the GameStop short squeeze will inevitably make it moon. Can you summarize your thoughts on this view?
That the GameStops, say that one more time because you cut out again.
Yeah, Reddit has convinced a good friend that the GameStop short squeeze will inevitably make it moon. Can you summarize your thoughts on this view? So didn't we just, for the GameStop short squeeze, didn't we just go with this like a couple months ago or so? Yep, a couple of times.
And now we're doing this once again. What did the price do during that time for the short squeeze?
I traded it for a while. It went from, I think it was like $10 all the way up to $500, and it wrecked a whole bunch of retail investors. So just so people know, what happens is it's the hedge funds that are manipulating the retail traders. The retail traders think they're smarter than Wall Street, and they think, oh yeah, sure, GameStop, it's going to go to $1,000 and just keep our diamond hands and we're going to win this. The intrinsic value of GameStop, best case scenario, is $40. it's trading at 172 right now. And anytime it is squeezed or manipulated, the retail investor gets wrecked because they have to understand it's the Robinhood investor that sells their information to Citadel. Citadel give that information to the hedge funds, and the hedge funds screw the retail investors. And they've done it 3 times already, and they'll continue to do it again. Guys, you can make money on this, but you gotta really time it very well. Same with AMC, all these meme stocks. And people talk about Bitcoin being manipulated. This is next level manipulation, boys and girls out there. This is how the markets really work. So that's my take. Just be careful.
Yeah.
People just, they cling to hope as a strategy. And in this game, it's a blood sport. You will get destroyed. You will get wrecked because there's people pulling the strings, playing the games of people. So what's your take on that whole space?
No. Well, I think I first of all, the retail investor did show Wall Street, at least the first time around, like how the game was played. And didn't we have a congressional hearing on this whole issue where they're like, hey, if we have all these retail investors and they are colluding, we can't have this. We can't have this happen because we can only have Wall Street do that because they've been doing that for years. And all of a sudden it was like a big thing. So I think that you're right. Retail will probably get crushed at some point, but there are some retail investors out there that don't get too greedy, and they say, okay, I'm going to invest into this and I'm going to wait for a certain point, and I'm not going to, and that's how you make some pretty good money, where you don't sell at the very top and you don't buy at the very bottom, because that is absolutely impossible. And if you get too greedy, then of course you get wrecked. But I think if the retail investors, and they can all, this was the whole thing, wasn't it? Because of social media, they could all come together and go, they're going to squeeze us, well, we'll squeeze them. And then it ran up, they ran up the price, and the ones that weren't too greedy went off with the mints. I'm sure, James, you might have been one of those people. So in that situation, I can say, yeah. Will it happen where everybody will make money? Obviously not. But that's my 2 cents. I think that if it's going to happen again, there's going to be some whales. It's the same thing that happens here in our market. I mean, look what's happening with Shiba Inu. Look what happened with Dogecoin. It just gets run up by a bunch of whales who are consolidated in so many different wallets. And if you can get out in time, then you're okay.
And nobody does the math. So speaking of that, there's a couple of crypto questions from Matt Wood. Pancake Swap, good project. Any price prediction?
Pancake Swap is at least reliable, and it's not, I mean, you can actually go there and you don't get rug pulled like some of the other products that are out there. So I've had people talk to me about it. They say it works out okay. I don't think it's as solid as, like, say, a Uniswap, but it's totally different formats. So if you can use it, but as far as like price point, isn't that was Pancake Swap the Binance Smart Chain?
I think so. Actually, no, it should be Ethereum based, which is Binance Smart Chain based. Probably yes, but at least when I ran Pancake through our models, it is absolutely horrific. It's in the bottom 20% of the top 300 cryptos, 100% inflation, heavily centralized. It's just, nothing like Uniswap. So, anything with a pancake or sushi in it, run. So yeah, that is correct. Run and be careful because of the centralized aspect. But I got to tell you, the more that I'm in this game, the more that it seems like, I mean, we want to be decentralized as much as possible, right? Because it offloads some of the risk, or it actually keeps things going in the vein of cryptocurrency. But with Pancake Swap, it's by Binance. And let's just be honest. That Binance Smart Chain is just straight up centralized. However, did you see the price of the Binance token go up all the way, to the roof? Top 10, top 5, because of they're doing things like this. And it seems like to me that a lot of people are like, well, yeah, it's not decentralized, but I'm making a lot of money. And then here I am. I'm not saying that's right. I'm just saying that's exactly how I see things. And then because we even talked about this before, James, about with the NFTs. I mean, to mint an NFT on Ethereum is crazy high prices. Yep.
And for me to do anything, like I just did something on Unstoppable Domains. I put in my ADA address to one of my domains. It cost me $60. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I know people will say, well, ETH 2.0 is right around the corner. No, it's not. The second part is right around the corner, but the third and last part, the beacon chain's already here. But then to do sharding, that'll be late 2022. So that's how it goes.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I'm still very bullish on Matic, because Ethereum isn't going to solve their scaling problem in a hurry. So we've got a whole bunch of questions, so we better pick up the
Oh,
pace a little bit here.
yeah.
Sorry, this
Sorry.
is no, this is cool. Phaeton from El Ringus. I looked into Phaeton, but what I couldn't get is enough information to make a true decision. I didn't have time to get the initial ICO at $1. So that's Phaeton. But apparently it is kind of like a soul killer, but I don't believe it. So it's, again, they're too late to the game, too late to launch. Have you been tracking Phaeton at all?
No, I don't even. For that one, Phaeton, is it PHAT?
PHAE is the
A-E,
symbol.
Phaeton.
Yeah, there's just not enough information for me to make a decision.
Yeah, I couldn't even tell you. Sorry.
Then we have a thing from German Girl in Virginia. Want to talk about the latte effect in Bitcoin, motivate people that even small amounts in Bitcoin are good investments. Maybe Rob has a Starbucks story. Like, how do you vote? I know you are influencing people in Puerto Rico to buy some Bitcoin. How's that going? And do you do it over coffee? And even does a small amount matter? Like, does $5 worth of Bitcoin or $10 worth of Bitcoin worth it in your opinion?
I think if you look at it like one of the safest plays would probably be Bitcoin, and the second safest play would probably be Ethereum. And the reason is because of what the government has said is, hey, they are not securities. So in that regard, sure. But as far as like gains, any kind of investment, and let's just be honest, out there, I don't know what it is throughout the entire globe, but as far as like investment practices here in America, we are pretty awful at that as far as like investing for the future. That's why so many Americans are waiting for Social Security to bail them out. And there was an article put out by James which said that, hey, at 13, 14 years, I think maybe 17, it'll probably be gone, or at least it'll be greatly reduced. So when I talk to anybody about crypto and digital assets and all that, I go, if the first thing I say is, if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't really know, because there's so many out there, and that's the truth, just get into Bitcoin and Ethereum, because those are the safest bet. The next two ones I say are Cardano and Solana. So that'll make James happier.
Good stuff. So this is a cool one, actually, and I know that Rob is a bit of a political junkie, and a lot of people realize the importance to keep tracks on exactly what our politicians are doing, because regulation is a huge part of this whole game. Tommy Walton, Biden and his administration make me very nervous. Are you nervous, James, with the crypto czar buzz and everything else? So I'll answer it first and then let Rob take it from there. First of all, Biden and his administration, their knowledge of crypto is extremely lacking, which is a problem. Good news, though, about crypto czars, or any czars, is they're just there to just kind of be in a position, but they don't wield a lot of power. And the third thing is, the government is already well entrenched, and we have an equal dispersion, at least in the United States, between the Democrats and Republicans who actually embrace Bitcoin, who are invested in Bitcoin. And remember, politicians are paid by Wall Street, by big industry, that are deep into Bitcoin. Just look at the adoption by banks. The top 5 banks now are all in it. The top 3 asset management companies in the world are all into it. There's no putting this toothpaste back in the tube. What do you say, Rob?
Oh, it's exactly right. I think for like the crypto czar is just like you said. I mean, it's a figurehead. They can push policy, but then another thing is that you have to run that through Congress. If they want to do some type of new law, new legislation, good luck getting all those guys to agree on things. And I know, I mean, Gensler's been in front of them with the SEC. I just don't see them moving the needle too far, and even saying what is a security and what not, and what's going to happen here. And again, things are just moving too fast for them to really catch up.
Okay, next question. This is a equity question from Bearded Jagger. I was going to buy Coinbase, MicroStrategy, and CleanSpark last Monday. Obviously, there are 3 that I went into 2 weeks ago. But the funds didn't clear in time. Any new entry levels for each? So that's a hard question. So I'm deep into these 3 stocks, and I got big into CleanSpark as my new favorite mining company right after Hut 8. But to see what happened with MicroStrategy going from 572 up to 700 and change, I have a strong philosophy of not chasing, waiting for dips. I think anything Coinbase 236 or below is good. MicroStrategy has just run so much, and CleanSpark in the 11s if you can get it, but over $14 now. I picked it at 10 and change, so it's already gone up 30% plus. So you give up a lot of gains when you're late. But have you ever, Rob, the question for you, been frustrated by very, very slow transfers of money or getting accounts funded to be able to trade? I know it's a pain for many people. And any tips to get around that, to help people make sure they fund things faster?
It happens all the time. And one of the things that here's the thing. We'll back up. If you're using like Robinhood and things like that for stocks and everything else, you can do that. It just takes a little bit of time, but the longer that you're in there, usually the better off you are, because they trust you. And then for the cryptocurrency side, this is what I've found on every platform. I don't keep a lot of cash in my accounts, in my regular bank accounts, because it does nothing there. So what I do is I transfer it over into my various exchanges, and I transfer it over to USDC and Tether if I have to. But mostly it's USDC because I gain yield, and then when I want to buy something, it's just right there and available, and then there's like no problems. So what I always talk about is just pre-fund as much as you can, because guess what? I think if you've been in crypto for more than 24 hours, I think you figured out that it's pretty volatile. So it's best to jump ahead of things than to just wait till the last minute and go, oh, the price is there. It's very tough like that.
Yeah, I got a great one for you. You're going to like this, from Pumped Up Gaming, from a fellow veteran like yourself. With the goal of retiring by the end of my 20 years in the Army, 2033, can I get there with no trading? Just DCA and HODL, currently at 15K in crypto. What do you think?
Well, first of all, yeah. What I think, first of all, thanks for your service, whatever you're doing. For me, and because James, I mean, you have your DCA part, and you like to dollar cost average and be, pretty much on point. But then I know you do more of the trading side, and that's like your things. You came from that. For me, I don't trade much at all because I suck at it, and I'm not. And for me, I feel like when you have these options to just like, you're in a very volatile, the most volatile asset class you could possibly be in, crypto and digital assets. So if you want to trade, you can make some good money pretty quicker, but why don't you just play the long game and just dollar cost average and just kind of sit on it? And then here's a great story for everybody out there. I know we talk about cutting our losers, but a friend of mine, Alex, lives here in Puerto Rico. He was head of Bquant Institutional Services, and there was a company a crypto company that came to him and said, "Hey, we want you to help us with this project." I forgot the name of the project, but they gave him a boatload of tokens. And of course, he's like, "Yeah, I'll trade them at some point." It launched, everything went down, it just died. Was just an awful thing, and he just forgot about it. And then we were at dinner a couple months ago, and he said, "Hey, this coin that I had for like 4 years didn't move at all. Now all of a sudden it's worth millions." Can you believe that? Not the one token, but the amount that he actually had. I was like, son of a. So like, I'm not saying to like put all your money everywhere, but if you can just sit on things, it usually works out pretty well. And a lot of these are going to go down, but that's why I like to spread my wealth around and not say, hey, I'm going to put everything in Cardano. That's not my thing. It's just to spread everything around. But that's just my way of doing stuff.
Awesome. So your next question, and again, thank you for your service as well. Pumped Up Gaming. Be safe out there. Hope there's no war anytime soon. Just have a good time. So this is from MotoJB. What's up, James and Rob? Current snipe entry price points for Bitcoin and ETH. Also, what assets are you expecting to run that haven't run yet? Interesting one. So
that's you, because it's all sniping.
Yeah. Let me pull up a chart and see if I can do this. Hang on a second, because let's look, then I can show things much better. We'll do this real quick. And let me go. Is my chart showing? Hopefully.
Let's see.
It should be. Good. Let's look at Bitcoin first. And this is kind of interesting. So I actually drew this extension line. I hope people can see my chart. But basically where I believe we could go over the next period of time. These green lines here were technical support levels one at like 50K and the next one about 53.6. And if you see anything under 54K right now, not sounding too bullish, but that's where I would kind of grab some Bitcoin. But the strength is unbelievable. If we do get a dip around even 54,100, I would grab some. I have some limit orders in on Solana right now, and similar type of level. I'm not buying Ethereum, etc. But this is the Ethereum chart here as well. As you can see, I had two kind of old support levels, the 3120. In fact, I've got a different Ethereum chart. It might tell us a different story, and maybe not. As you can see, I configure different charts, different levels with different things. Let me see if I have my fib levels in this one. Hold on a second. I shouldn't do this on the fly. Yeah, so this is the resistance level we're at right now, but we're just above it for Ethereum at 3,500. The 3,560 level is one we need to clear and stay above, and then that'll flip into support. But this is where we're struggling right now. So I believe once, like Ethereum has shown tremendous strength, but remember, it's come from 2,600 in a couple of weeks, right up to nearly 3,600. So it's had a huge move, as has Bitcoin. But many people are so bullish on this one right now. So we'll see what happens. But if you're trying to get some Ethereum, you don't have enough. I recommend at this stage of the game, half Ethereum, half Solana. Solana 151, Ethereum, I don't know, 3,400, 3,300 type of range. It's hard to say exactly where I go. So let me see.
For this one, I got to tell you, James, I have leading up to this last week or 2 weeks, I have bought so many dips because there were so many dips along the way, all the different bad news and the FUD stories and things like that. Like right now, I'm just gonna ride it out. Like if like you said, like 54,000, sure, it's a pretty good one. But man, I have bought so much over the last last 4 years. So what it comes down to that I'm like, you know what, this is good. I've sold a little bit along the way for profits, but now here's where it's time to kind of just wait for things. I don't know. I mean, it seems like we've got some pretty clear skies. It looks like the chart you showed had some good support. I mean, for Bitcoin and Ethereum. I don't know James, here's a question for you. What could cause more dips, more FUD stories to come out? Because it's like, I mean, it sounds like we've got Gensler and Powell on board. We've got the banks and the hedge funds on board. We've got, the investment community on board. What do you think could like drop this price?
I think the thing that concerns me the most right now, and I hate to talk geopolitical, but the Chinese-Taiwan issue, the saber rattling there, that concerns me a lot. Like the sorties, you've got the U.S. Navy now in the South China Sea with aircraft carriers. You got the Chinese Air Force with nuclear-armed bombs kind of doing sorties, rubbing up against Taiwan. That's what concerns me. If that happened, all bets are off. Everybody loses. Everything will tank. Fingers crossed that's not going to happen. Other than that, I'm very bullish right now.
Except for the war contractors. There's always winners here.
Exactly. But heaven forbid, I think hopefully the Chinese and the Americans are smart enough to not play these war games, just find something. And I think, the Chinese are very, very smart. They know for them, their goal is global domination. This will not help them. They've got enough issues domestically right now with Evergrande and power outages and stuff. So I'm not concerned about that. So we'll see what happens. Other than that, I do see the huge flight to safety, and that safety is Bitcoin. People are looking for that new gold. JP Morgan came out and said, hey, we're telling our investors, and they wield huge power, despite the fact that, I know you're not a big fan of Jamie Dimon and stuff, but when they talk to their customers and they say, hey, don't buy gold anymore, buy Bitcoin, we're talking hundreds of millions per month, maybe billions are going to start floating into that direction. And that's huge. Okay, we better get back to our questions because we are late. Trail Boss, 100,000 to invest. How long to 1 million with only investing in the top 10 coins?
Well, only invest in top 10. That's not investment advice. If it was me and I'm talking to myself, I would just say, you want to play it safe? This is exactly what it is. It's Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, Solana. That's the ones I would go to. And then I would kind of go down that. So I would say like, if Bitcoin we can assume is going to double, right? So that means that right now we're around 50, it's going to go to 100. So by the end, so in 3 months, it's a pretty good return, right? Ethereum, we're at 4,000.
Yeah, 3
double.
5. Yeah.
Yeah, double, maybe 2.5. Okay, so that's it. So if I'm doing 100,000, it'll probably be 25,000 in 30,000 into Bitcoin, 20,000 into Ethereum. Let me see what else is up for just the top 10.
Yep.
Okay. I think Solana's got a little bit of room to run. I wish if it would be Cardano, at least 10%, 10% Solana, 10% for Polkadot. We're at 30, so we're at 70%. And then if I could find a way to invest into XRP, only because I think this case has to wrap up at some point. They're going to have to pay a fee and get gone. That's how it'll work, and that's all I would do. And then you know what I would do with the rest? I'd try to put 99% in there. And then you know what I do with 1%? I know this is going against the rules, but I would find an NFT project or a couple and put some money in there because the gains are outrageous. Again, so you got your hodl portfolio where you're just going to buy and hold and not do anything. Maybe you got 5% you want to trade, or 4 or 5%, and then that 1 to 2% you put into something crazy. It's like playing a lottery. Then just put it in there and then see what happens. Because who knows? If you lose it all, you lose that 1-2%. But if it goes up big and there are some big, huge winners, you can make a lot of money. You can hit $1 million pretty quick.
Yeah, and back to that, I put together on June 22nd $50,000 into an example crypto portfolio that's now worth 186. So it is possible to 3x in a short window of time, but 10x in a short window of time is extremely difficult or impossible.
It's only if the FOMO comes in crazy, right?
Yeah. Then we're all on the beach. If that happens, like when I hear things like Raoul Paul saying $40,000 Ethereum, it's like, wow.
And but you know what, James? Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I said I'd eat anything live on YouTube if that's the case.
I got to tell you, what worries me is to be able to get my sell orders in and then be able to sell it in time as things start to fluctuate. And then the other thing that worries me is my own psyche, is to pull the trigger, because I know a ton of people who made a boatload of money in 2017. They rode it all the way up and they rode it all the way down. And I will not be that person. There's other assets besides cryptocurrency you can put it into and make pretty good returns. One of those being real estate.
Okay, we're way behind the questions, and I'm going to just blast through things. And what I'll do is I'm going to answer them, and I'm going to kick you a couple. So first one is thoughts on NVIDIA from MB Rolling. I like NVIDIA. I've got a limit order in the low 190s. Chadwick, this is one for you, Rob. Where do you see the housing market going next year? Do you see housing prices coming down?
Down.
Okay, that's positive. Even though inflation, I have a different point of view. I see housing prices going up by 10% per year. There might be blips if there's a kind of a gray swan event in the real estate market or some type of financial crash, but it'll be very short-lived. The problem is inflation, debasement. You can't have prices of real estate going down. They can only go up because the currency is going down. So that's my theory on that. German girl, Virginia, staking Solana worth it? Yes, it is. Staking stuff, but not your whole bag. So I like to stake about a third and keep 2/3 ready for trading in the event that things go sideways. Raloon, can Biden executive powers hurt Bitcoin this month? I don't think so. What do you think, Rob?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Next one.
Okay, Joe. Any news, rumors, and when some dApps will be available on Cardano? Lots of future optimism, but I need to see something real. I'm over allocated in Cardano. LOL. What do you think?
Yeah. I'm just waiting for that DEX. And look, we waited this long. So I see if they figure it out, like the MIM swaps and the Sunday swaps out there, we'll be just fine. But it's going to take, who knows when they're going to get it out. But I don't know. I can't wait to tell you. I can just tell you that they're making good progress as far as like people coming together. We'll see.
Oh, this is a brilliant one for you, Rob. People love you, Rob. They're sending you all these fun questions. The question for Rob, this is from Caligula. Would you consider doing a weekly fun reaction video when other YouTubers say dumb things?
No. because if that's the point, they can do it just for me. And I say dumb things all the time. Ask my wife.
It's a great one. All right. And a couple of big thanks for donations. DKK for George's dog. Big thank you for that. We'll give it to other animals that are around. T Kettle, thanks guys. Christian Murr, Dragonfire, Where's My Crypto? Robin Thunison, and Shirley, Don Dude, Ayan Gulmez, Kiwi Robin, Mike Mancuso, Bombiggy, Andreas Kapalis, Sukabu. And that's it. I thought we were going to have much more questions, but there wasn't that many questions as it turns out after all. But
perfect.
We're bumping up on the time. A question for you. One of the names that I really like and I have liked for quite some time, and I always say it's only a matter of time before certain things pop, but my latest popper that just went off is Polkadot. Where do you see Polkadot going the end of the cycle? And do you like Polkadot?
See, this is another thing that I was trying to talk about with NFTs. You're going to miss all the NFTs as far as like Ethereum, but what you really want to do is take a look at those platforms that are bringing on NFTs and really pushing hard. So you want to take a look at Avalanche, you want to take a look at Solana, you want to take a look at Polkadot, because as they launch those ecosystems, just like James talked about, it's super expensive to mint and use any kind of NFTs on Ethereum. So why don't you go to other type of platforms, and those will take off, especially if you have real world utility, which is like coins or other projects that get onto those, and then you can get a share of it just by being one of the first mentors on that specific project. So I see, as far as like end of year price, I did one, where are we? Polkadot, $35. I can't even tell you. Really what it comes down to is this. I can give you a price prediction, but it's just the biggest guess of all time. Really what it comes down to is the people that are building on Polkadot. I mean, what kind of relationships are they getting out there as far as the companies? And then what are they doing to bring more dApps and applications and have real world utility? That's really what it comes down to. So I can't tell you what it is. And,
well, my target has always been kind of $98, $99 for this cycle. And that has not changed since the beginning of the year. And now it looks like it could very easily 3x from here, but it's a function of the power chains launching successfully. Gavin Wood's very confident and hope it gets out there, but it's one of those good ones. And by the way, regarding NFTs, you can bypass, like on things like OpenSea. If you pivot to using the Matic network to do your trading, again, layering on top of Ethereum, you can save a lot in gas fees there. And we also have to remember that 93% of all NFTs are actually sold to the Ethereum network anyway. So it's not like Ethereum's going away, but there's ways of getting around the high gas fees just doing straight Ethereum. So for all those NFT traders out there, use Polygon. And that's one of the reasons I'm massively bullish on Polygon too, because the adoption of it is incredible. And nobody sees the value yet of Polygon. But they'll catch on, like people didn't see, like Polkadot was sucking wind for the last 3 or 4 months. People saying, how come Polkadot hasn't moved? Well, look at it now. It's had a very, very impressive week. In fact, let me see if I can pull up a chart real quick. We kind of close on this chart here. Excuse my desktop. It's a complete mess. But this is kind of where I see it going. And this is, again, something I drew quite a while back, and these extension lines sometimes are uncanny. But very quickly, we should see Polkadot making a big move up to 50, 60, and then breathe, and then straight up to 100 from there. Not financial advice, but some of the stuff that I believe is very, very possible in this market. So,
yeah, it could be. It all comes down to is what kind of news do we get for clarity as far as legislation, and what kind of FUD stories that are out there, and how many more times is China going to ban Bitcoin? That's the big question.
Exactly. I don't think anybody cares about China anymore. In fact, so many people came out in the last week or couple of weeks saying China banning Bitcoin has actually been good for Bitcoin. So we'll see.
It's been good for Texas, I'll tell you that.
If there is, in the unlikely scenario, there's somebody out there that isn't already subscribed to Rob's channel, his link is below, top of the description. Please subscribe, and hope you like this content, everybody. And Rob, thank you for taking time out of your Sunday to be here with us. And maybe we'll go on your channel next time, maybe next week. If
depends on the
infrastructure.
Depends on depends on the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Depends on the Wi-Fi.
Awesome. Well, a big thank you as well for everybody here who was with us spending the Sunday morning. Hope you got some value out of it, and we'll see you all later. Thanks, Rob. Happy Sunday to you and the
Adios.
family. Bye.
Bye.